Notice there haven't been a lot of big exercises on this one, which is unusual for me. And here's why. There's really two reasons why. All the data structures that we've gone over have been simple. You've heard of stacks probably, you know of queues, and you know of vectors real well. So, and notice the code for them were all very, very simple. The only thing we really had to worry about was making sure we had a complete class profile so that they work well with the C++ STL functions that are already given for you. So there hasn't been a lot of code that you've had to generate here until now. Here I want you to work on vectors. I want you to work on an example that I already have down for you. You can change the number to your class, but I just had a class a long, long time ago was that. But anyway, I want you to go ahead and follow the instructions that I have here for you, and then I will go over and answer with you on this one that's going to be all about coding. So get to work. This is going to take you a little while, especially if you don't have a complete class profile for some of this, so which I think you're given, but still, I want to make sure. Don't forget about that part as well. Hi there. So in reality, I really am not doing too much to the code that I gave you originally. Now, how I'm presenting it though, yes, I am actually presenting it as one large file. So there is the header that I gave you. There is the source file that I gave you, and then the main at the very end. So notice, by the way, with the code that I've added, it's still only about 155 lines, which is, well, 160. But anyway, so not much, to be very honest with you. Most of it was what I gave you already. So let me just go through the main first. Remember that this is all the stuff that I gave you, that we create our objects first, and then we go ahead and add them to the vector. Now, notice, by the way, that I'm using a heap representation of the vector. And whenever we do that, we have to use the arrow not notation in order to call the functions instead of the dot notation. So that should at least look a little familiar to you. And then basically all I did in the code was just wanted to check what the front was. By the way, notice that I'm using the overloaded cout. I'm going to scroll back up here real quick. I've got my complete class profile set up. The equal sign, double equal sign, less than sign. I have a compare function in there, which I literally stole from the notes. There's my compare names, which is the next function that I wanted you to create. So that's why this all works. Let's just put it that way, is that I made sure that the file had already things that set up for that complete class profile. You didn't have to do that. The only thing you had to add was that compare names part. So anyway, excuse me. So here's using an iteration to go through everything just to print that everything was okay. Now let me scroll up here on this. I have to be careful because it comes down the road here. There we go. So this is my, oh, that's not even totally done. Oh, that was my front, was Jonathan Lanny, because he was the first one put in there, as you can see. So Jonathan Lanny is being printed out basically from this. So that was the first one that I put on the list, and I can prove that by literally line 118. Now after that, let me scroll a little bit back down here, push them all in, then I go ahead and sort them. So my next item was to go ahead and sort it. Now, by the way, sorting doesn't mean I print it out. It just does the sorting. The line after that does the printing out. Now the sorting, and I need to add this to this, is actually, it's using the overloaded less than sign in order to do that. So using overloaded less than. Take a little bit here. All right. That's how we're going to do that. So if I go back up to my student class and I look at my less than sign, you'll notice that I'm going to be focusing on the score portion of this. So, by the way, that's how the sort default works. If it's by default, there's no other items to it. It's going to use the overload less than. So now the printout for that's going to be by sorted order by score. And as you can tell, 10, 75, 90, 95, 100. So that's good. All right. Whew. Now we get to our function. So I had to compare, and compare names is what you're supposed to add. The compare is telling it this time, hey, I want you to do it by this particular function. Now, the compare function is basically doing the same thing. If I'm not mistaken, it's actually just above the main. There it is. Yes, there it is by the score. And that's why I wanted you to change it to then something compare names, where we actually compare it by last name and first name, very similar to a textbook, or how, well, cell phones don't do that. They do it by the first letter of whatever it is. But anyway, so last name would be checked first and then first name from there. So that's what happens in these next two. It's the same sort method, but I'm telling it, hey, here's a different algorithm that I want you to sort it by. First one's going to be by score again, so it should print the score all over again, and it did. And then the next one, though, is going to use the compare names, and it should put it in alphabetical order of names: Burke, Henry, Hill, Laney, and Taylor. It did that too. So notice a lot of neat little things here pretty quickly, and not a lot of code, but again, you had to set up some stuff in order for it to get completely done and get done, frankly, easier for us. Hope this helped, but let me know if you have any questions. Happy to help you.